everyone, and greetings from Order of the Grid. We are back with yet another episode after a very long time where we connect with the people who make difference in the society, stand out, and are a source of inspiration to us all. My name is Prathamesh Masurkar, and today we are having a special guest all the way from New Zealand. He is a veteran voice actor for the show called Power Rangers, and he has also voiced several monsters like Hisser from Megaforce, Wrench and Curio from Dino Charge, Dynamon from Ninja Steel, and now Bitscreen from Dino Fury. And he has also voiced Tenso in the Megaforce as well. Please welcome Mr. Estevez Gillespie. Hello, Estevez. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Prathamesh. Very honored to be on your show.
Thank you so much for taking your time as well. And I mean, let's get started.
Yeah.
All right. So,
I'm
Estevez.
all yours.
Yes. So, Estevez, tell us something about your childhood. Like, what were you like as a kid growing up?
As a kid, I'd like to think that I am exactly the same as I am now, except now I've got 4 kids of my own, and so probably I was told a lot in school for doing stupid noises and making silly voices at the back of the class. So I got in trouble. I got in trouble a lot for doing voices and impressions in the back of the class. And I was told by a teacher that I needed to stop doing the silly voices because nothing would ever come of it. But then, now I sort of work on Power Rangers and I make a living out of it. So I really need to send a paycheck to that teacher and show them what came of it. I don't know anything about science, though.
Right. How did you take up acting as your career? Like, did you always wanted to become an actor, or was it like something else different that you got to fell into it?
I was pretty much told. I was told that I had to be an actor. I think if you're an actor, and this happens to a lot of people, to a lot of actors, you'll find that everyone said to them, "You need to be an actor. Why aren't you an actor? You should be an actor. You should be doing this." And then you realize that the thing that you enjoy, which is acting and being someone else and exploring characters, you can get paid for it. People will pay you, and it's fun. It's not stressful. I mean, it's a lot of hard work at times, but it's not stressful. So the reason I became an actor is because it's something that I can do, and people were disappointed if I wasn't doing it, so I did it.
Oh, like since you're an actor, you also do voice acting as well. How did you take up with voice acting as well as your interest?
I became a voice actor. I did a role on TV. I was a bad guy. I was a drug dealer on a show in New Zealand on TV, and I was on that show on and off for a few years. And then I wasn't getting any other acting roles, because in a small country, if you play a role that's sort of quite recognizable, you go to audition for another role, like a good guy role, and you might not get it because people associate you with the other character. So it's hard to get other roles sometimes. So while my role as a bad guy sort of died down and people forgot about it, I went and tried out voice acting, because you're anonymous as a voice actor, or at least I was until I started doing interviews. But you can be basically anonymous because you're just a voice, and the on-screen character is somebody else or something else, like a robot or an assistant to an alien overlord. Because so you can do as many roles as you want, and they'll never associate it with your on-screen role. Do you know what I mean? And so that's why I got into voiceover initially.
So speaking of voice acting, we all know you were also in the part of the show called Power Rangers. Can you tell us how did you start with Power Rangers for your voice acting?
I had an agent, so I had a voice agent, and what I did was I made what they call a voice reel. So you send a voice reel to an agent with different voices and characters. So I had a bunch of different voices on a voice reel, I think in those days it was on CD. um, and I send it to the agent, and then the agent sends it out to all the people that are making shows like Power Rangers. That's Saban, who makes Power Rangers. Sent it to them, and then you go in for an audition, and you get the character. So they tell you about the character. So if it was Tensu, I think was the first role I had on Power Rangers. So they'll say to you, okay, Estevez, the character is called Tensu, and he's a small robot, and he is the assistant to Gosei, and Gosei is this and that. And then they say, go for it. And so you have an audition, and you show your own take on what you think Tensu should be with the information they've given you. And so you have a go at it. So all the actors sort of go in, and they do an audition with their own voice of what they think Tensu should sound like. And then so it's all usually coming from them. The people that get the role, they've come up with the voice themselves. And then that voice file goes to where they make it back in the States, and the producers there, and there are producers here in New Zealand as well, like Chip. They decide which voice suits what they think Tensu should be, and that's how you get the role.
So speaking of which, how did you find the voice of Tensu? I
based Tensu on, well, I knew that he was a small, so he's a small robot, so they gave me a picture of him.
Yeah, small robot made up of those solar panels.
Yeah, he's made a solar panel. He was based on, when they created Tensu, he was based on Johnny Five. You know Johnny Five from the Short Circuit movies? Yes. Johnny Five and R2-D2, and there was some other inspiration that they had.
Wally?
And so, yeah, Wally, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because when I saw it for the first time, it reminded me, is that Wally? Like,
yeah,
wow.
Yeah. So there's a little bit, so I knew it had to be sort of high-pitched and playful. So Tensu has a little bit of Wally, has a little bit of Mr. Burns from The Simpsons.
Okay.
You know, excellent. Release the hounds. Pratamish. Doing a podcast. So it's I based it on those three things, and a little bit of Rocky and Bullwinkle in there as well, which that combination had the right sort of playfulness, and also he's quite anxious. Tensu, he's quite an anxious character, so there was a lot of sort of oh my god. So there was a lot of freaking out and anxiousness, but he also had a lot of responsibility on his plate because he worked for Gosei, which is a big, it's a big job to get that gig for Tensu and me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, how did you got the voices of Wrench and Curio? To be honest speaking, Wrench and Curio are my very favorite characters from Dino Charge.
Wrench just seemed because he's a technical guy. Like, he's a technical genius. So I just came up with a voice that was sort of, I don't know, a little bit sort of nerdy and clipped. There's a little bit of sorry, I've made a mistake. So Wrench, so Mr. Burns went into Wrench. Yeah. And Tensu, I had Stephen Hawking's was an inspiration for Tensu. Yeah, but Wrench had Mr. Burns in it. And how did I find him? And it just had a very clipped sort of nerdy sort of technical genius thing over the top of it. So Stephen Hawking, Albert Einstein, I don't know what he sounded like, but it had that sort of very particular sound to it.
Awesome. So how did you got the voice of Curio?
Curio is based on, because Curio, I don't know if I'm, what gender do you think Curio is, male or female?
Because in the Japanese version of the Dino Charge, Curio is originally the female, and in the American one, Curio is shown as the male.
Oh, so he's male in the yeah. I couldn't work out if it was. I couldn't remember if they said he or she, but originally at those auditions it was supposed to be a female.
Exactly.
So they were auditioning females, actors or actresses, actors, for the role. And I just happened to be in there doing, actually recording Tensu maybe. But I'd already gotten the role of Tensu, and I just thought they said, Estevez, do you want to try out for Curio? And I just did it sort of just for fun. Really, I wasn't auditioning at all. So I auditioned with this character who was based on a homeless lady that I met in New York. And I used to work in New York on cruise ships, and there was a homeless lady there, and she was always yelling at people. If people would walk past, and she'd be like, "Get out of here! Get out of my face! Get away from me! What do you want from me? Forget about it! I can't stand it here! I'm freezing! Get me a blanket, for God's sake!" So she'd always scream at people, and I used to sit down beside her because I was fascinated by this voice and this character. And eventually, she settled down. Where are you from? New Zealand. Where the heck is New Zealand? And I just talked to her, and I talked to her for 10 minutes, and then eventually she'd say, "All right, I'm sick of you. I'm tired of you. Get away from me. Come back tomorrow." Ooh. And that's where Curio's voice came from. Oh. Because Curio, when I saw the pictures of Curio, it looked like her. It looked like the lady from New York.
Fully made up of cushions and all that stuff.
Yeah. She had all these different the New York, the lady from New York had all these different clothes on. So she had 5 layers of different jackets and skirts with jeans underneath them, and 3 pairs of socks that were showing out of each other, and 2 different shoes and weird hats. And she'd just sort of get whatever. She was really resourceful. She'd get whatever clothes she could. And then I saw Curio, and it reminded me of her straight away. This was years later. This was 10 years later. I hadn't seen this lady. I don't know what happened to her, but I said, that's the lady. And I remember the voice, and I did the voice for Curio and got the role. So if anyone meets that lady in New York, she's sort of up 92nd Street where the cruise ships get off. If anyone ever sees her, you got to play her some Curio.
It's very nice that some inspirations also come that gives inspirations that give you as well.
Yeah. It's nice. I think maybe she deserves a cut. She deserves a paycheck. We've been using her voice for so long.
It's really funny that in the Japanese version of the Dino Charge, Curio was obviously a female. They also had a human role as well of Curio, but I think that was for 1 episode.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, like how those villains grow, like that's when Sledge commands the Viveks to use the Magna Beam. But in Japanese version, Curio had one which we gardening the plants. What do we call it? It was originally to grow that monster. Curio used to use some grower, and then the monster used to grow.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yes.
Yeah, they come up the Japanese writers come up with such really cool ideas that seem to be based on Japanese mythology, because there's a lot of similarities in the movie, the animations that they make over there. The one Studio Ghibli? I don't know if I'm saying that right. Have you heard of Studio Ghibli?
No.
They make things like Totoro, My Neighbor Totoro. Okay. You got to watch that stuff. You guys will go crazy for it. It's amazing. We love it over here, and it's huge in Japan. There's a big museum in Japan. So Studio Ghibli, I've got a friend who really knows about it. Her name's Ella Heinrich, and she's the go-to on Studio Ghibli. She knows everything about it. So you should interview her one day.
And also after that, you have got experience of voicing Dynamon in Ninja Steel and Bitscream in Dino Fury. Can you tell us what was that experience of voicing those characters?
those were smaller characters, weren't they? Oh no, no, yeah, those were smaller characters. And those ones, I sort of had about 5 or 6 ideas, and we just workshopped or jammed the ideas of the different voices until we found one that sort of worked for them. They were sort of smaller players, but all through those series, I did have little guest roles as well. So I was we'd sort of fit them in between. So there was lots of little characters that would sort of come on for fights, and then they'd go off, and yeah. So and we'd always just come up with something unique for each little character.
Interesting. Besides voice acting, also you have also acted for a show called Auckward Love. Could you tell us what was that experience as well? And also, could you name some of the few commercials also that you have done voice acting as well?
Oh yeah. So Auckward Love was fully a Kiwi production, and it was written by a lady called Jess Sayer, who's capable of writing very sort of real yet interesting characters. And it was about a group of young people in Auckland, and the trials and tribulations of being young and interesting and beautiful in a big city, decidedly big city like Auckland. And I played a role. Braden was his name. So I came on, and I was just one of the sort of love interests of the main character. And I knew all those. I knew some of those people before I came on, so they got me in for an audition, and I fitted the role. And yeah, he was just a sort of a love interest called Braden, and he yeah, there was some really nice scenes. It was a very relaxed set, one of the most relaxed work experiences I've had, really, with those guys. Emmett Skilton was the director. I think Emmett's done voices for Power Rangers too.
Yes, he has done Jackson in Beast Morphers.
Yeah,
he has done a couple of voices.
Cool.
So even you have done commercials as well. Can you tell us which was your favorite commercials to do?
I think my favorite was for the Jelly Bean Company. I did a voiceover for the Jelly Bean Company, and it was a little Irishman.
Ooh.
And so I was the voice of this little cartoon Irishman, which was heaps of fun. But I do things for Vodafone, and Subway, because there's a retail voice that voice actors do. There's the character voices, and then there's the sort of to find out more, go to pratamesh.co.nz. There's that kind of really retail voice, and there's lots of that sort of work. And that's really sort of easy work that keeps the money coming in. And yeah. My favorite acting role, I did an ad for Lotto. There's an ad for Lotto, the New Zealand Lotto company. New Zealand Lotteries do ads, and there's always sort of a story. I think the National Lottery in the UK do it as well. They always do a beautiful sort of series of ads that's a story, a really heartfelt story, humanistic sort of story. And so I did an ad for Lotto where the mum wins Lotto, and we are the kids, and she puts gold, plants it underneath the clothesline, and then she dies, and she leaves us a letter to go and find the gold that she won from the lottery under the clothesline, and then we're all rich, and she's died, and it's just a beautiful sort of human story. And yeah, it's called Mum's Wish, if you want to look it up on YouTube. But that's a nice little ad. That also has Jess Sayer in it. She plays my sister. That Jess Sayer, the writer of Auckward Love, so she plays my sister in that ad. So you should check it out.
Well, out of which was your most favorite character voice in the Power Rangers?
A Curio.
Same.
Without a doubt.
Honestly speaking, even I also like Curio, because Curio is the most adorable villain in the Power Rangers.
She's so cute. Yeah. And so Curio and Poisandra is voiced by Jackie Clark. And Jackie Clark is for years and years she's been an amazing singer and actress. So she's got her singing voice is incredible. She's great. And funnily enough, I didn't see much of her because we all record it separately. But yeah, there's if you're a singer, there's good work for you in New Zealand as well. I sing with a big band there's a big band called the Basin City Big Band. There's about 30 musicians with instruments. So it's all brass, like saxophones and trumpets and drums and bass guitars, and we sing all the old Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, all those old Rat Pack songs. Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of actors have those other skills as well. So you can, as an actor, you can go and you can be a singer, you can be a dancer, you can be a voiceover artist, you can be on screen, you can be a writer. You'll find a lot of the actors have all those other skills as well, which is yeah.
So have you ever got an experience of visiting the set while doing voice acting, like meeting the original cast members?
Yeah. Yep. And also the Power Rangers themselves will come into the voiceover studio, because when they shoot the show, sometimes in the dialogue some of the dialogue might be lost or it's not clear, and then they play it back and they look at it and they say, oh, okay, the Black Ranger has to say this again because it's not quite clear, or we need to change what they said there. But all the sets have come down by the time they do the voiceover, so they need to get the actors into the voiceover studio with us, and then they will re-record their dialogue. It's called ADR, and sort of post-production. So they'll do it again, voiceover, dub it over themselves. So I meet a lot of them then. And then at the premieres, they have the premiere, if they have a big, a feature length version of Power Rangers, or a big episode like the one where Tensu gets lost in the city.
Yes,
called
yes, right. He gets lost while all the Rangers were finding for Tensu.
Yeah, the Perfect Storm. The episode's called The Perfect Storm, and Tensu gets lost. And so they had a big screening of that episode, because I can't remember why, but it was a pretty big episode for me because it was all about Tensu getting lost, and that was fun. That was sort of fun. It had a lot of sort of drama in it, and it touched on mental issues as well. So they have these underlying themes like mental health and that sort of thing. It's very subtle, but if you watch The Perfect Storm, you'll see there's mental health issues, memory loss, all sorts of things. But anyway, they had a screening of that, and the people, the kung fu experts and the dancers who are in the suits, who work inside the suits of the monsters, I met all of them. So I met the performer who is in the Tensu, sorry, not the Tensu suit, that's CGI, but I met the person who was in the sledge suit, and I met the person who was in the Hissa suit, the movers, and they're incredible. There's Japanese guys and girls, and it's so great to meet them, and we were quite excited to meet each other because we're the other half of ourselves.
Okay, so do you have any advice for any aspiring actors or actresses who want to join voice acting and also in acting career?
Yeah, well, I would say the thing that actors who want to be actors don't do is they don't make their own work while they wait for a job or an audition to come up. They sort of the mistake that you can make is just sitting around on the couch waiting for the phone to ring with an audition or a role. So you got to it's so easy now. Get your iPhone out, or you get whatever device you have out, and you can make a short film. You can make a voiceover reel. You can film things around you, cut them together, any images, and then write a little script, and you can put the voiceover over the top with music. It's so make your own little reels. Keep your brain, your creative brain working. Keep making, and the jobs will come in. because in your mind you are working. So it's funny because if I don't have any jobs for a while, and especially in COVID, no, maybe Shortland Street was the only thing that was still being made, because Shortland Street, I mean, if the world explodes and there's the earth is dissolved to dust, they'll still be making Shortland Street, because they'll make it forever. It just keeps being made. But when people aren't working, as I say, they should just keep on making things for themselves, so that in their mind they're working and they're still creating. You should write. An actor should write every day. Write a paragraph or a page. Just write. Doesn't matter what it is. Don't think about having an idea. Just sit down with a pen and pencil with an empty brain and just start writing. And what comes out will surprise you. And that means that you can just improvise on the spot. Your brain is always working creatively, and if you do get an audition, you go in and you'll crack it, because you'll just be fluid and you'll be confident, and you'll bring them something instead of nothing. That's my advice.
Something creative that comes and generates new ideas.
Yeah, just keep that brain working. Just make things. It's so easy now. You've got all the technology in your hand.
And nowadays, content creating has been raised a lot because of all the higher number of views. And due to all this lockdown and COVID period, people got bored. So because now they started making all those videos and reels, and each of that, because of that, all the views have risen. Some of them have become professionals as well during this COVID.
Yep.
And even they have changed their careers.
Yep.
Like, for example, Cabby Lame. Now where he is. He's also a TikTok star.
Yep.
That has raised a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any upcoming?
I'm just gonna say, also if you want to be an actor and you're wondering what's good content, make sure you look at the old stuff as well, because now anyone can make something and put it on screen or YouTube and people will watch it, but it's not necessarily quality. A lot of it is just ridiculous. It's not. I suppose it's just my opinion, but make sure that what you're making is quality and you put work into it, and it is entertaining and it's clever and it's subtle, instead of just watching someone play a game or watching someone eat breakfast. Or I think the latest thing is a woman who sleeps and she films herself sleeping, and people can log in and watch her channel, and it's just her sleeping, and people find it fascinating, which is great. And that's great. That's good for her. But I'd suggest it's not necessarily acting or entertainment. Maybe entertainment, but it's not acting. And it's we can't just sit around watching people sleep all day, or watching someone else play a game. We can't watch someone else watching. We can't watch someone watching someone play. Grand Theft Auto.
Okay, do you have any upcoming projects would you like to share, if you are allowed to talk?
Yep, I've got last night I did a read through of a play. So in New Zealand we have our indigenous people are Maori.
Yes.
So before the and you'll relate being from India, an indigenous person of India. We were colonized by this country that I live in was colonized by the English.
Yes.
And before that, the Maori lived here, and they had their own technology and their own ways of doing things. They had their own tikanga, which is sort of in place of religion. They didn't have religion per se. They didn't really have gods per se. They had traditional stories about the sky and the earth. Not necessarily gods, but then the English came and they introduced religion and all of that sort of thing. What was the question? I've actually forgotten what the question was. I've gone on to a totally different tangent.
This was about your upcoming projects.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay, that's right.
Okay.
So anyway, the original sort of pathos and importance of Māoridom and te ao Māori and the world of Māori and the language was kind of lost for a long time. And now, hopefully, it's making a comeback. It's being more recognised because unlike India, the English never really left. In 1947, the English left India. Sadly, in some ways, to their own devices. But hopefully, you guys are amazing at getting back on your feet. But so there are the Māori arts. So there's a lot of Māori language coming back through the arts, and it's getting funding. So there are Māori plays being written. And last night I was lucky enough to be invited to be a part of a reading for one of these Māori plays. And there's another one next week. So it's a huge privilege for me. I'm not Māori. I'm Italian and Irish. But I was born here. But I do acknowledge that this isn't my land. This isn't my land. It's theirs, and as much of it as we can get back to them and their language and their culture, the better. And if I can help with that responsibility, then that's good. And I've been invited to these plays to be a reader as an actor, and I'm getting paid for it, and it's funded, and it's an amazing, unique experience, and a very important one, probably more important than any other acting job I've had. So that's what I'm doing next. And I'm working with the big band, the Basin City Big Band. So I'm singing with them, singing all those old numbers. I don't know if you know about the Rat Pack, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, all those old crooners. So we're bringing back all of their old songs and singing them the way that they were supposed to be sung. And we're also turning some new songs, and we're swinging them out like old sort of big band versions of them with the brass instruments. And so that's lots of fun as well. So I'm doing those two things and a few little voiceover jobs. This is my voiceover studio that we're building at the moment. So this is going to be a big voiceover studio. So you can record music in here.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay. As of now, we are running out of the time. We'll just do just a fast question.
Is it nearly 12:30?
No, but it's been out of time. So we'll just start a game which is called as faster round. So just I'm going to ask some quick questions. You're ready? Some quick questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you want to live?
New Zealand. Aotearoa.
If you had not been an actor, then what you had become?
A pilot.
Okay. DC or Marvel?
Both.
Ooh, okay. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Invisibility.
And which is your most favorite sport in New Zealand? Would you prefer cricket or rugby?
Cricket.
Who's your favorite cricketer then in NZ?
It'd have to be one of the old ones, maybe Richard Hadley.
True. Okay.
Richard Hadley.
All right. And one last is, what would you want your legacy to be? Like when you're gone from this planet, what would you want your legacy to be?
My God. Do you know what? I don't know yet because I don't know what it's going to be. I'm not attached to a legacy. I think that's a very Pākehā white man construct to be so attached to a legacy, land, money, a person who was good with words, a funny person, a person who took care of his children. All of those things, I think people come up with what their legacy should be, and that's enough for them without actually fulfilling it. So I will answer that question in about 40 years when I'm about to die.
Okay. All right. Just last and the final. Can you do French, Curio, and Tenzo for us, for the audience? French, Curio, and Tenzo.
You want them from France?
Voice.
French. Are you saying French? Like
French.
Like,
from
what
Dino
is the
Charge.
deal?
French from Dino Charge.
Oh, wrench.
Yes.
Wrench. Sorry, I thought you said French. I
No,
thought you wanted me to do them if they were from France.
no, no.
I
No,
am
no.
doing that for you. I am French. Yeah, okay. So which one do you want first?
French. WW for French.
Oh, you want wrench.
Yeah, okay.
It's been quite an honor to be on with Pratimesh on his podcast.
Next is Curio.
What do you want me to say? I'm not your show pony. You want me to do these voices? I'm doing them for you. Come on, where's my paycheck? Give me a glass of water over there. I want a coffee. Pratimesh, you look very sharp in your nice clothes. Look at your glasses. Look at your straight teeth. I love your hair. It's very 1980s.
Oh, God.
I love the curtains in the background. I want to know what the pictures are. What are the pictures in the background, Pratimesh?
And
It's 12:30.
yeah, yeah. And last but not the least, Tenso.
Oh, Pratimesh, what are you doing to me? So many voices. No, wait. Tensu's here. Tensu, that's right. He's got a little bit of a blocked nose. I think when we auditioned for Tensu, we had a blocked nose, and so I had to do the blocked nose for the whole thing. Oh no! I cried a lot.
Well, thank you so much, Estevez, for having me on our show. It was a great privilege to have you.
Do you do any voices before you go?
as-
Do you?
No. I just do some little bit of content creating. So yeah, on my Instagram. So I'll
Right.
show it to you that even later. Before you leave, where can the people can find you on social media? Like if they want to follow you.
So they'd have to go on. They'd have to look at my Facebook. To follow on Facebook under Steve Barry.
You can find us on Instagram and also on YouTube as Order of the Grid. Make sure comment, like, share, and subscribe. And you can find us mainly on Instagram only as Order of the Grid. Well, thank you so much for your time, Estevez. It has been a wonderful chatting with you. And viewers are going to love for this episode. And thank you once again and wishing you all the very best for your future endeavors. This is Prathamesh
My
Masurkar.
pleasure.
This is Prathamesh Masurkar from Order of the Grid signing off. Take care.